Welcome to this session on the art, really the craft of directing. We're going to focus today on unlocking truly breathtaking performances, and specifically from performers who bring this remarkable raw instinct, maybe immense vulnerability and imaginations that just aren't bound by conventional training. We're talking, of course, about children and non-actors, and crucially, how you can guide them using the profound principles of the Chubbuck Technique. Now, for those maybe less familiar, the Chubbuck Technique is this really powerful acting approach. It centers on connecting deeply personal needs, past experiences to a character's objectives. And it's all aimed at achieving these raw, authentic, just utterly compelling performances. It's really about using what drives a human being to fuel their actions, right? On screen or stage.
That's right. And our mission, our goal in this session, is to really unveil precisely how you as directors sculpt access to the deepest emotional architecture of this technique for these specific performers. And let me be clear, this is not about dilution. It's not watering it down. It is about tuning in, meeting them exactly where they are, and then transforming their natural impulses into powerfully truthful behavior.
Okay.
The fundamental principles. They remain absolutely unshaken. We drive behavior through deeply personal need. We transform pain into fuel. And we relentlessly fight to conquer our objective. The mastery, your mastery as a director, lies in reshaping your approach, tailoring it to set the emotional, the cognitive, the experiential landscape of the performer standing right in front of you. You're about to learn how to speak their language. I mean, the language of sensation, of fantasy, of immediacy. And that's how you achieve unforgettable authenticity.
That sounds like a fascinating, maybe even a delicate challenge. So when you first start working with children, or perhaps non-actors, what's the very first thing you, the director, must recognize about them? What are their innate capabilities? What do they bring that's so valuable?
Well, what they bring is, it's an invaluable foundation. It truly is. Raw instinct, immediate emotional accessibility, and this wonderfully vibrant inner world. Unlike, many conventionally trained performers, they don't need permission to pretend. Pretending is their default state. It's how they navigate the world often. Their imaginations aren't something they have to consciously activate. It's just how they operate.
Always on.
Exactly. And this makes them profoundly receptive to emotional truth if guided correctly. Their natural state is already one of openness, a willingness to engage fully in an imagined reality. And they do it with an unfiltered authenticity that, frankly, many adults strive for years to rediscover. This is not a deficit. It's an immense asset.
Okay, so if they already have this natural inclination, this openness, then your role, your paramount responsibility, is to translate the inherent complexity of our work into something intuitive for them, something playful maybe, but still deeply emotionally resonant. It sounds like you're creating a kind of bespoke language for each person. How exactly does a director sculpt that access, build those pathways?
It is about crafting pathways.
Yes.
And you achieve this through compelling metaphor, by ensuring unwavering emotional safety that's non-negotiable, through engaging physical play, by establishing clear, simple story logic, and with consistent tactical encouragement.
Okay.
Think of it like constructing a bridge directly to their innate capabilities.
Yeah.
But this bridge, it needs to feel like a playground, not, a demanding construction site.
Right, not intimidating.
Exactly. And I want to stress again, this isn't about dumbing it down. It's absolutely not. It's about precision. It's about tuning in so profoundly that you become fluent in their natural tongue. You end up speaking through their instincts rather than dictating down to them. The goal is to awaken their internal drive, provide the necessary structure, yes, the absolute safety, the initial spark, and the essential stakes. Do that, and even a 5-year-old can deliver a performance with a personal urgency and emotional precision that just slices through an audience. The result, when done correctly, is truly unforgettable. It goes way beyond just charm or, sweetness. It becomes a profound, real human moment, something that resonates long after the scene ends.
So the core insight here then is that this raw, maybe untamed nature isn't a hurdle. It's actually the fertile ground from which the most authentic performances can grow. Provided, of course, you cultivate it with that precision and unwavering safety you mentioned. It's about understanding their default state aligns with powerful acting's imaginative demands. And speaking of imagination, It really does seem like children especially just live effortlessly within it. Their inner lives are so vivid, constantly moving. How do you leverage that natural ability, that default state of pretending, to tap into profound personalization, specifically when using the Chubbuck Technique's idea of substitution?
Well, their effortless immersion in imagination makes fantasy the most direct conduit we have to profound personalization. It really does. And for non-actors, too, this approach often works wonders, because they frequently feel less inhibited exploring through metaphor and play. It bypasses those conventional acting expectations they might have built up. Your mastery as a director, it lies in engaging them on their own terms, leveraging this innate capacity, but, and this is crucial, without ever compromising the inherent stakes of the scene.
Okay.
So consider substitution. It's a core concept in our technique. Now, instead of giving an abstract instruction, something intellectual like, use a substitution for this parent figure, you have to speak in human, visceral terms.
More direct.
Much more direct. You command them. You say, imagine this person in the scene is someone you really, really love. What would you do right now if they were about to leave you forever? See how that transforms an intellectual concept into an emotionally charged, playable mission. It creates an immediate, tangible pathway to truth because you've tapped into something they already understand at a fundamental emotional level. Forget the theory, hit the feeling.
Can you give another example? Maybe for something seemingly simple.
Sure. Let's say you have a scene where a child needs to show profound sadness because a toy is taken away. Instead of saying substitute for the toy, which, I mean, what does that even mean to a child?
Right, nothing.
Nothing. You say, imagine that toy is your favorite puppy, and it's suddenly very, very sick. And maybe you'll never see it again. What would you say to your puppy? What would you do? Instant connection, instant stakes.
Okay, I see. And once you establish that visceral connection, that substitution through imagination, how do you then escalate the emotional tension? Without overwhelming the performer, what are the next steps to push them further into that truthful space?
You build on it carefully, but deliberately. You push them further. You might say, okay, what if they're walking out the door right now, right this second, and they won't come back unless you make them stay? What would you say in that moment? What would you do with your body to stop them? You encourage movement. You encourage shouting, whispering, even tears. Whatever emerges naturally from that deep emotional connection must be channeled, guided.
So it's not just letting emotions spill out.
No, never. It's about inviting their imagination to stretch, sure, allowing every natural impulse to surface, but always, always keeping the stakes incredibly tight and directly tied to an objective. This isn't uncontrolled emotion. It's directed energy. It's fuel. For instance, if the child is still hesitating, maybe looking unsure, you might intensify it slightly. They're leaving now. Look, quickly, what do you grab? What do you say to their back? Don't let them walk out that door. That kind of directive immediately physicalizes the stakes. It compels a response. It bypasses thought and goes straight to action.
So you're not just eliciting emotion, you're framing this whole emotional exploration as a clear mission, giving them a direct, active verb. How does that tactical framing really get to the essence of the technique for beginners?
These tactical prompts are absolutely critical because they ground the emotional behavior directly in the relentless pursuit of an objective. You are not simply asking them to feel. That's passive. You are directing them to use what they feel actively. You say, convince them to stay or make them change their mind. This distinction is the very essence of the technique in practice, especially with beginners.
Moving from feeling to doing.
Precisely. It moves them from internal experience to outward, purposeful action. When you give them a mission, like make them stay, they have a clear path for all that energy. And the true brilliance here isn't just what you say, but how that precise language bypasses their conscious mind. It taps directly into their innate primal drive. It makes performance less about acting and much more about simply living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It hits their nervous system directly, activates an immediate visceral response, bypasses the intellect, goes straight for the gut, and that leads to deeper personalization and much more authentic, compelling performance.
So the power really lies in language that activates, not just language that informs. That seems especially vital when we talk about simplifying the objective for children and non-actors.
How do you strip away all the academic stuff and get right to the core of what they want? You absolutely must strip away all academic terminology. It just gets in the way. Your questions have to be direct. They need to be grounded in fundamental human need and emotionally specific. You simply ask, what do you want from them? Or what are you trying to get right now? Your goal here is purely to provoke truthful action through absolute clarity, not to lecture them on acting theory. We are not interested in their theoretical understanding. We want their immediate, visceral pursuit of what they want.
So very direct.
Very direct. Imagine you have a scene, a child needs to ask for help. Forget character motivation analysis. You ask, what do you need from that person? What are you trying to get them to do for you? Simple. Powerful.
And how do you make that objective feel tactile? Make it feel really urgent for them, bypassing the intellectual understanding entirely and just hitting that emotional instinct.
You use phrasing that instantly triggers emotional instinct. That's the key. You command, perhaps. You want them to stay. You want to be picked. You want to make them laugh so they don't go away. Or you want them to love you back. You want them to see you. You want to be enough for them to choose you. These aren't abstract goals, are they? They're immediate, pressing needs that resonate deeply because they tap into universal human desires, primal needs.
Yeah, very fundamental.
Very. So if a child is hesitant to speak their lines, maybe they're mumbling, you might lean in and say, you want them to really hear you. You need them to listen right now, or you'll never get what you need. See the urgency.
Yes. But what if, even with that, a child or non-actor still struggles? Maybe they just don't seem to grasp the objective. They look confused or lost. How do you guide them through that moment, especially if they can't articulate their confusion?
That happens. If confusion arises, or if you just see them grappling, guide them with a simple scene partner dynamic. Make it relational. For instance, you're trying to stop your friend from going into danger. Simple, clear. Or you're desperate to show them how much you care. Critically, you physicalize it. Give them an action. You're grabbing their hand to stop them from leaving, or you're running after them to explain before it's too late. This immediately gives them a tangible action that's directly connected to the core need. You can even demonstrate it simply, not as acting, but just as human behavior. Show me. Show me how you would try to stop someone from going somewhere dangerous.
Okay. So the key is always anchoring the objective to something that feels emotionally real, even if, as you said before, it's entirely imagined. How does connecting that fictional situation to an emotional reality transform their engagement, moving them from simply acting to powerfully doing?
Because you anchor their need in something that genuinely matters to them, something they can grasp and care about immediately, instantly. When you connect a fictional situation to an emotional reality, like you don't want your best friend to leave forever, or you're trying to win back someone you miss deeply, you move them. You shift them from simply acting to powerfully doing. The imagined need becomes a real motivation. It becomes a relentless engine that pushes them to speak, to move, to strategize, to fight. That shift changes everything. It transforms the exercise into a mission. It compels the performer to truly care, to take real risks, to personalize the material deeply. They stop mimicking, they stop indicating, and they start fighting. This is how you ignite investment. This is how you raise the stake so profoundly, and how you give even the least experienced performer a compelling, undeniable reason to fight for their objective. Not because you told them to, but because it suddenly feels absolutely necessary, because in that moment, the imagined world possesses profound emotional gravity. And that is when the performance truly ignites. It just comes alive.
Wow. The critical insight there for a director seems to be that the objective for a beginner isn't just some goal. It's the absolute heartbeat of their performance. When you frame it in terms of what genuinely matters to them, the fight becomes authentic and their commitment is just undeniable, which leads us very naturally into storytelling, using it as a powerful tool for building circumstance and stakes, especially with children and non-actors. You mentioned they respond to narrative, maybe even more viscerally than some trained performers. How do you, as a director, leverage that innate connection to story? How do you infuse desire, urgency, danger into their scene work using narrative?
They do. They instinctively understand the emotional pull of a compelling story arc, particularly when it's infused with desire, urgency, and a palpable sense of danger. They don't need to intellectually dissect subtext. They feel it. They feel it when it's woven into a world that speaks their language. So you set up the scene like a high-stakes bedtime story. Seriously. In this story, something precious is at risk. Something absolutely must be won. And something formidable stands squarely in their way. This framework is inherently engaging for them. It taps directly into their imaginative capabilities.
Like giving them a quest.
Exactly. Imagine a scenario. You're directing a young boy. Maybe he needs to confront an authority figure in the scene. Instead of giving him abstract character notes about power dynamics, you create a story.
Okay, could you give us a concrete example? How would you construct that high-stakes narrative to immediately activate their imagination and their sense of purpose?
All right. For example, you state it clearly, vividly. You're a young wizard, and your little sister has been kidnapped by this grumpy, powerful king. You have to go into his cold, dark castle and convince him right now to help you get her back. If you fail, she's lost forever to the shadows. You'll never see her again.
Wow, okay. That's immediate.
It's immediate. In that single sentence, you've activated their imagination. You've given them a clear purpose. You've established urgency. All at once. That one statement contains all the crucial elements we need. Substitution, the kidnapped sister. Objective, convince the king. Obstacle, the king's resistance, his grumpiness, his power. And the ultimate, life or death, stakes her life. It's concise, it's powerful, and it's utterly compelling for them. It gives them a world to live in, not just lines to recite.
And you could layer it too.
Absolutely. You might even add, the king looks bored. He doesn't believe you. How do you make him believe you? How do you make him help? That adds another layer of tactical challenge.
And beyond these specific narratives, can you frame stories using broader archetypes? Things that might resonate with their natural understanding of dramatic worlds.
Absolutely. You can definitely frame stories through archetypes. They resonate deeply, universally. You might say, you're the hero trying to save the village from a monster. Simple, classic. Or, you're the outsider trying desperately to get inside the popular circle at school, something relatable. These broad, familiar frameworks allow them to see themselves inside a dramatic world that mirrors real emotional dynamics. Rejection, longing, protection, fear, all those core human experiences. You give them a narrative that allows their own innate truth to rise naturally to the surface. It provides that foundational why that makes their actions in the scene feel profoundly necessary, not just something they're supposed to do.
Okay, so the powerful insight here is that for a director working with children or non-actors, narrative isn't just some background detail. It's the actual engine driving the stakes. The emotional logic of the story, especially when it's clear, simple, loaded with intense want, creates stakes that truly matter to them. And when imagination fuses with intention inside that compelling story, you get behavior that's both bold and deeply honest, because the actor is fighting a battle they truly understand and care about. Now let's pivot to a critical aspect of our work. Emotion as action, not just catharsis. In the Chubbuck Technique, emotion is never the performance itself. It's the tool, the fuel. So what is the director's immediate tactical response if a child or non-actor starts to cry or show any strong emotion during a scene?
Your impulse as a director must not be to console them or to pause the moment, cut the scene. No. Your impulse, your directive must be to redirect that emotion directly toward their objective. It is about actively using what they are experiencing in that moment.
So use the tears.
Use the tears. If tears come, you command them. Use your tears to get what you need. Show them how much this matters to you. Make them listen. Make them stay. You push them, gently but firmly, to channel that emotional energy actively, rather than merely sitting in it, or worse, succumbing to it. Tears, in this context, are not simply evidence of a good performance unless they're used as a weapon, a tool, in the battle to win the objective. We don't cry for the sake of crying. We cry to move someone, to break through, to win.
That sounds like a really powerful redirection. But how do you help them understand this concept, this weaponizing emotion, without it feeling manipulative or maybe overwhelming, especially for a child who might just be experiencing raw feelings?
You might say, with firm yet compassionate resolve. That sadness you feel right now, use it. Use it to plead, to beg, to command. Don't collapse under it. Aim it. Aim it at the person you need something from. Weaponize it. This is the critical shift we guide them toward, from emotional indulgence to powerful emotional action. Their feelings become active tools in their arsenal.
It's empowering them.
It is absolutely about empowering them. You help them understand that their feelings, their fear, their longing, their anger, their joy, they are not obstacles to overcome. They are, in fact, powerful tools. They are power. When harnessed directly toward an objective, those feelings transform. They go from private struggles into potent, impactful tactics. This is the core of what you are teaching them. Their feelings are not the thing to manage or suppress. They are the thing to use. So, an example. For instance, if a child is feeling genuine anger, maybe about a perceived injustice in the scene, you say, "Good, use that anger. Show them how unfair this is. Make them change their mind because you are so angry they would do this." You validate the feeling and immediately direct it.
Right. The fundamental lesson for a director here is clearly that emotion isn't the destination, it's the vehicle.
Yeah.
Your job is to channel that raw energy, transforming a momentary feeling into a potent, strategic action that serves the character's relentless pursuit of their objective, making every tear, every laugh, every flash of frustration a powerful weapon in their fight. Okay, moving on to another critical element. Human, tactical language. You've really emphasized avoiding jargon. How do directors strip away anything academic or theatrical? How do they ensure their language is warm, immediate, and just brimming with purpose when guiding these performers?
You must be ruthless about it. Avoid all jargon. Just strip away anything that feels academic, theatrical, or, emotionally vague. Keep the language warm, yes, but also immediate and full of purpose. You are not trying to teach abstract theory here. You are trying to directly activate instinct. Your words are surgical tools. They should be designed to provoke an immediate visceral response.
So instead of
saying, find your emotional objective, you ask, what do you really want from them right now in your gut? Feel the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about using phrases that directly hit the nervous system, carrying that emotional charge. Can you give us more examples of these short, punchy, human-level lines, the kind that spark immediate behavior and really light a match under their fundamental need?
Yes. You use phrases loaded with longing, need, urgency, action. Say things like, you want them to choose you. Simple, powerful. Or you're trying to win their heart because you don't want to be left behind. Or you have to stop them from leaving, or everything falls apart. The simpler the phrase, often the more directly it penetrates. And the power of these lines isn't just that they're easy to understand, it's that they carry immense emotional weight. You aren't just telling the performer what's happening, you're feeding them the emotional stakes. You're giving them the tactical firepower they need to fight for what they want.
Right, it's giving them something to do with the feeling.
Exactly. When you say, you want to be seen, or you're scared they'll never come back, you have suddenly given the actor something concrete to do with their feelings. It's no longer about just being emotional. It's about using emotion to win.
This sounds like a director's secret weapon, almost. Translating complex emotional states into these clear, actionable mandates. How do you cultivate this fight language? Using declarations, ultimatums, rather than introspection, to truly ignite their instinct.
You speak in human terms. You speak in fight language. Use declarations. Use ultimatums, not introspection or analysis. That comes later, maybe never for them. Make them see you. Prove you matter. Don't let them walk away from you. Hold on to them like they're the last person who ever loved you. These aren't mere instructions for performance, they're calls to action. They are emotionally coded objectives dressed in accessible, visceral terms.
So if a child is struggling
to deliver a plea, instead of saying, think about how sad you are, which is internal, passive, you might lean in and declare, show them your heart, make them understand you need this. It's active. It's demanding. When your language is active, emotionally loaded, and tethered directly to human stakes, you don't just guide performance, you unlock it. You bridge ordinary language and extraordinary behavior. You ignite instinct. And that is the art of directing untrained talent.
Okay. The core insight here is just crystal clear. For a director, your language isn't just communication, it's a direct catalyst. It's about bypassing the intellect and speaking directly to the performer's primal need and their will to fight, transforming abstract concepts into these immediate, undeniable calls to action. Now, when working with children and non-actors, you've emphasized the need to be gentle, but also unequivocally firm. You've stated that safety isn't some luxury, it's the fundamental launchpad for taking risks. As a director, how do you actively build and maintain that crucial emotional safety? How do you ensure they feel secure enough to actually delve into vulnerability?
You must be gentle, yes, but unequivocally firm. Children and non-actors, they need to feel absolutely safe and seen to go deep into this work. They need to know without a shadow of a doubt that they're not being judged on talent or polish, but rather they're being recognized and honored for their courage, just for trying. Safety isn't a luxury in this work. It is the fundamental launchpad for risk. Emotional bravery only emerges when the performer truly trusts that their vulnerability is being held with unwavering respect. And crucially, that failure or perceived failure will not be punished.
And how does that translate into practice?
It means your consistent presence matters. Your steady eye contact, your calm demeanor. These are crucial. You are their anchor in potentially stormy emotional seas.
So part of that safety comes from how you praise them, right? How do you as a director praise the effort over the polish, especially when the performance might feel messy or incomplete? What's the message you're trying to send?
You absolutely praise effort over polish. Let them know emphatically that trying, really truly trying, is what matters most. Celebrate the moments when they just go for it, even if it's messy. In fact, especially if it's messy. Help them understand that polish, that technical stuff, it can always come later. But truth has to come first, always. You reinforce that every honest attempt is a crucial step toward mastery, and that feeling fear, that knot in their stomach, is actually a positive sign. It means they're working close to the edge where real growth lives.
So you'd say something specific.
Absolutely. If a child stumbles over lines but delivers a moment of raw, genuine emotion, you immediately say, yes. That feeling right there. That's exactly it. Don't worry about the words right now. Keep that feeling. You validate the truthful impulse.
Okay. And beyond praising effort, how do you reward bravery over control? What does that look like in practice, and why is it so vital for unlocking authentic performance?
You reward bravery over control. When they let go of trying to get it right, trying to please you, and instead fully commit to their objective, however messy it looks, you honor that commitment above all else. You show them that performance isn't about correctness or playing it safe. It's fundamentally about connection and urgent need. Help them see that emotional chaos can be profoundly useful if it's channeled, if it's aimed, if it's part of a strategic fight to win something real.
So their emotions aren't the enemy.
Their emotions are not a problem to be contained. They are a powerful resource to be deployed. And sometimes a simple nod from you or a direct statement like, that was brave, that felt real, can speak volumes. It acknowledges their risk.
It sounds like the director's role isn't just explaining concepts then, but being the actual container for their emotional experience. How do you embody that role? Being the emotional temperature reader, the safety net, the architect of an environment where vulnerability can actually thrive.
Your role as a director goes far beyond just explaining concepts. It's to hold the space. You are the emotional temperature reader, yes. The steadfast safety net. And the architect of an environment where vulnerability can not only exist, but truly thrive. When a child gets overwhelmed or a non-actor loses focus and starts to shut down, you are the container. You hold it. This means you take profound responsibility for the energy in the room. Your energy affects theirs. You are not there to force emotions out of them. You are there to meticulously shape conditions where emotions can emerge naturally, be witnessed without judgment, and most importantly, be used strategically in service of the scene's objective.
So you're constantly reading the energy in the room like the scene itself depends on it. How do you interpret those subtle cues? The fidgeting, the breath, the eyes, to know when to soften your approach, maybe pull back a bit, and when to push them just a little further toward that emotional truth.
You must read the energy in the room constantly, like your scene depends on it, because frankly it does. Watch their eyes. Where are they looking? Are they connecting? Watch their breath. Is it shallow, held? Watch their fidgeting or their sudden stillness. Are they shutting down, checking out, avoiding connection? Or maybe slipping into that people-pleasing mode just to earn your approval?
Or maybe the opposite.
Are they revving up, hearts pounding, voices rising? Are emotions teetering on the edge, about to spiral because they don't know if it's safe to go further? Are they stuck in self-consciousness? Or are they trembling on the very edge of a breakthrough? Your job is to interpret these cues like signals on a battlefield. They demand your full, immediate attention and response.
So what are the responses?
Well, sometimes interpreting those cues means softening your tone, slowing your pacing, or maybe gently shifting the stakes down a notch to give them space to breathe so they can stay in the work without shutting down completely. You create space for recalibration. Other times it means pushing just enough, raising the emotional temperature slightly, applying a little more urgency, daring them to take that next crucial step into emotional truth, and making it absolutely clear through your energy and words that they won't be abandoned if they stumble or fall. Your job is to create boundaries where bravery feels safe. Not necessarily comfortable, but held, secure. You are the edge they can jump from, and simultaneously, you are the net that will catch them if they leap too far. You are the one saying with full conviction, you can go there, I've got you. And that unwavering assurance, that is what ultimately unlocks the kind of raw, breathtaking performances that stay with an audience forever.
Wow. The profound insight for directors here is that compassion isn't about coddling at all. It's the strategic cultivation of an environment where the most courageous emotional risks become possible, precisely because the performer trusts that you are their unwavering witness and their guide. We've discussed a lot about translating the core principles. Now let's specifically address the 12 steps, which are so fundamental to the Chubbuck Technique's architecture. For directors working with beginners, how do you maintain the profound psychological depth of these steps while simplifying the access points for a child or a non-actor?
You must understand that even if you don't explicitly name all 12 steps, you can still apply them in spirit.
Absolutely. The architecture of the Chubbuck Technique is remarkably flexible. The 12 steps are, at their core, practical tools actors use to delve into character and scene. When working with beginners, children, non-actors, your job is to maintain their profound psychological depth while simplifying the access points. The true spirit of the work doesn't reside in its terminology. It lives in the direct application of need, personalization, and powerful tactics.
So you reframe them. You reframe the steps in language that is vivid, emotionally immediate, and experientially accessible to them. You don't say, for instance, use your inner objects.
Right, too abstract.
Far too abstract. Instead, you say, what are you seeing in your head right now? Are you seeing a face, a memory, something that hurts, or something that helps? Picture it clearly and let that guide what you do. You bypass the abstract and go directly to their internal experience.
Can you give another example of that translation?
Sure. If a child is struggling to connect with a scene partner, maybe they seem distant, you might ask, activating substitution and inner object simultaneously. Is there someone you really miss right now? See their face. Are they happy? Are they sad? What do you want to tell that person right here, right now? You make it immediate and sensory.
That's incredibly helpful. So let's break down some of the other core steps using this translation approach. For objective, how do you translate that for a beginner to provoke immediate, truthful action?
For objective, you translate it simply as, what do you want? What are you trying to get from them right now? What would make you feel okay again if you could just get it? It's all about immediate, tangible desire. Instead of a theoretical concept, it becomes a direct, urgent query about their deep personal needs in that very moment.
Like in a begging scene.
Exactly. In a scene where a child character is begging, you might ask, what are you trying to make them do? Are you trying to make them say yes? Are you trying to make them change their mind? What's the one thing, if you could get it right now, that would make everything okay? Very specific. Very active.
Okay. And how about substitution? How do you make that profound connection immediately explicit and personal without introducing a complex concept they have to learn?
For substitution, you phrase it this way, making it relational. Who does this remind you of? Who in your life feels like this to you? Think about someone you miss or someone you need. That's who you're talking to right now. You make the personal connection explicit and immediate. This anchors the character's relationship to a deeply felt existing connection in the performer's own life, making the stakes instantly real.
Like the grandparent example.
Imagine this person is your favorite grandparent and they're leaving forever. What do you have to tell them before they go? Instant personalization.
Okay. The moment before is often such a subtle but foundational aspect for a trained actor. How do you translate this concept to root a beginner in the emotional context leading up to the scene?
For the moment before, again, you don't use academic language. You ask directly about their imagined experience. What just happened right before this moment in your imagination? Did something scary happen? Or something exciting? Were you just left behind? Or did someone hurt your feelings really badly? Let that feeling, whatever it is, push you into this moment, into what you say next. You root them in the emotional context leading up to the scene, giving them an immediate, visceral jumping off point.
So more concrete.
Much more concrete. Right before this, did someone take your favorite toy? Or did you just lose a game you really, really wanted to win? Let that feeling push you to say what you're about to say. It gives them emotional momentum.
And finally, obstacles. How do you articulate that idea? Something standing in the way of their objective in a way that actually fuels their fight, rather than making them shut down or feel defeated.
And for obstacles, you translate it as, what's stopping you from getting what you want? What's in the way? Are they ignoring you? Are you too scared to ask? Are you worried they don't love you back? Then, crucially, let that struggle, that difficulty, fuel your fight to win them over. This connects their internal struggle directly to their objective, giving them something concrete to push against, to overcome.
So if they hesitate,
If a non-actor is hesitant, looking blocked, you might say, feels hard, right? Like there's a big wall in front of you stopping you. That wall is your obstacle. How do you get around it? How do you climb over it? How do you break through it to get what you want on the other side? You make the obstacle tangible and challenge them to overcome it. This entire translation process, this reframing, is what truly empowers untrained performers to behave truthfully. Even without mastering the specific formal language of the technique, you are not removing rigor, you're redirecting it. You're channeling it into terms that speak directly to their gut-level instincts.
it opens the door wider.
It opens the technique to anyone with a beating heart and a real need. It reminds us that acting isn't reserved for the trained or the elite. It's for anyone willing to use what they feel in service of what they want. By keeping the structure clear and the approach human, you help emerging performers unlock a depth they may not even know they possess. That's not dumbing it down. That is lifting them up to their highest potential.
The profound insight here for directors is that true teaching isn't about imposing a rigid system, but about unveiling the inherent truth already within each performer. By translating the powerful 12 steps into their natural language of imagination and need, you provide them with a direct, intuitive pathway to profound authenticity, rather than just, simplifying the process superficially. Okay, but it sounds like even with the most precise guidance, the most careful translation, there will inevitably be moments when children or non-actors just freeze, or become incredibly shy, or exhibit resistance. You've noted this doesn't mean they're unwilling, but rather overwhelmed. As a director, what is your first crucial response when you observe this? And just as importantly, what should you absolutely avoid doing?
Right. When children or non-actors freeze up, mumble, look down, avoid eye contact, maybe physically retreat from the moment, it almost never means they're unwilling or being difficult. It means they're overwhelmed. They're in survival mode. And crucially, your response cannot be to push harder or add more pressure, show frustration. That only reinforces the shutdown. It exacerbates their fear and makes it worse. Your first response must be to recognize the overwhelm for what it is and immediately shift your strategy. Take the pressure off.
Okay, so if pushing harder is counterproductive, what's the alternative? How do you redirect them? You mentioned using play earlier. How does that create a softer, more inviting entry point back into the scene?
Instead of pushing, you must redirect with play. Use imagination to create a softer, more inviting entry point back into the work. Turn the scene into maybe a thrilling quest, an exciting challenge, or just a pretend game, but a game with high emotional stakes wrapped in an element of fun. This allows them to re-engage without the perceived pressure of acting correctly.
Like the secret message example.
Exactly. If a child is shy about speaking a line, you might say, okay, let's pretend this isn't a scene anymore. This is a secret message you have to deliver, but you have to whisper it so only they can hear. It's our secret game. Can you do that? It lowers the stakes on the performance aspect, raises them on the imaginative task.
And are there times when you might need to temporarily lower the actual emotional stakes of the scene itself, just to give them some breathing room before attempting to raise them again?
Yes, absolutely. You may also need to temporarily lower the emotional stakes to give them the necessary space to just breathe, Reset. So instead of saying you're about to lose the love of your life, which can be intensely overwhelming, you might dial it back and say, okay, for now, just imagine you're trying to make your friends stay for your birthday party. Let them warm up into the work gradually. Build their comfort, their confidence. This doesn't mean you abandon the higher stakes plan for the scene, not at all. But you create a comfortable, manageable on-ramp to get them invested before you ask for more intensity.
That makes sense. And I can see how physical action could bypass mental blocks too. Give some practical examples, giving them a physical task to do while speaking, just to help that emotion flow more naturally.
Physicality is another powerful technique here. Give them a simple, concrete action to perform as they speak. Maybe fold a piece of paper, hold a specific toy or prop, even just move around the room with purpose. Physicality can often unlock emotional flow that is otherwise inhibited by thought or fear.
So for a non-actor,
If a non-actor seems stiff, maybe trapped in their head, you might say, okay, as you say this line, I want you to slowly walk toward that door. Or just pick up that book on the table and hold it. Let your body move as you speak. The action gives them an immediate, tangible focus. It releases the mental pressure, it grounds them, and alongside that, you build trust through small, achievable wins. Use pairs or small groups sometimes, just to ease the pressure of being watched alone. Let them rehearse with each other first before stepping into the main spotlight. Small victories accumulate. They build trust in themselves and in you. And let them know explicitly, over and over if needed, that there's no punishment for silence or hesitation. But there's immense reward, praise, acknowledgement for bravery and honest effort. A quick success, even on a small task, builds the confidence they need to tackle the next bigger challenge.
right. And this consistency of safety is just paramount, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you've said, safety breeds boldness. How do directors prove that consistency? How do they ensure children and non-actors feel emotionally protected enough to actually take those necessary risks?
Safety is not just about being nice, though kindness helps. It's about being consistent, responsive, unwavering. When children and non-actors feel emotionally protected, when they know deep down, beyond a doubt, that they won't be judged, shamed, or exposed for their vulnerability, their survival instincts begin to quiet down. And in that quiet, you create the essential room for risk-taking.
And those risks might be small at first.
They almost always are small at first. A slightly louder voice, a moment of sustained eye contact, a courageous decision to actually say the line instead of whisper it. But those small acts of courage are the very beginning of transformation. Each time they dare to go a little further, their confidence expands, exponentially sometimes. What begins as a tiny act of bravery evolved into full-bodied emotional truth. And this is when they stop asking, am I doing this right? And they start saying, with conviction, watch me try. That shift from fear to ownership is everything. And it only happens when safety is not just spoken about, but proven through your consistent presence and your unwavering support, your belief in them.
That's powerful. The core insight here is that for a director, handling resistance isn't about overcoming some defect in the performer. It's about skillfully adjusting your environment and your approach to invite their bravery. Every moment of fear is actually an opportunity to prove your commitment to their safety, transforming hesitation into an eventual empowered ownership of their performance. So as we bring this session toward a close, let's just reiterate the profound truth about working with these unique performers. The work you have learned to apply with children and non-actors, using these translations, it's not diluted, is it? It's translated, what remains absolutely at its core.
The core principles of the Chubbuck Technique remain fully intact, undiluted. Safety, combined with imagination, and a clear, deeply personal need, that combination is what unlocks truly truthful, unforgettable performance. This method doesn't reduce the challenge or the depth. It redefines the pathway to authentic expression for these specific performers.
And as this pursuit of authenticity, it's important to remember that not every single moment needs to hit the deepest well of emotion, right? Sometimes simplicity holds immense power.
Precisely. Sometimes the most profound truth arrives in silence, in stillness, in the tiniest of gestures, a look, a held breath. If a performer is telling the truth with stillness, trust that implicitly. Do not chase after volume or intensity or tears when the truth is already living vibrantly in their body. If you receive raw honesty without polish, that rawness is a gift. That truth, unfiltered and untrained, is precisely what makes the work feel alive and gloriously unpredictable.
So as directors, it's about guiding, yes, absolutely, keeping the objective alive. But it's also about knowing when to step back, when to allow their discoveries to just emerge organically.
You guide, yes, you keep the objective alive, absolutely, that's non-negotiable. But do not micromanage every single beat into some preconceived shape you've decided on in advance. Let their choices surprise you. Sometimes a subtle pause, a breath held maybe a moment too long, or a line delivered without any flourish at all, is more truthful and more profoundly affecting than any carefully choreographed tactic could ever be. Trust that rawness. Trust that unpredictability. Let them make their own discoveries without you needing to mold every single moment.
Be the director who knows when to speak.
And when to profoundly get out of the way. Your silence can be as empowering as your most precise direction. Trust what's alive in them, even if it's quiet, incomplete, or beautifully messy. Sometimes what's unfinished is what resonates most powerfully, because it leaves room for the audience to step into it, to connect and finish it with their own hearts.
This really speaks to the immense responsibility you carry as a director, doesn't it? Especially when dealing with the inner world, the vulnerability of children and non-actors. It demands profound care.
And understand this non-negotiable ethical imperative. Never, ever ask children or non-actors to dig into personal trauma without their full, explicit consent, comprehensive support systems in place, and established psychological readiness. This work demands profound care, not recklessness. You are dealing with their inner world. You must treat it with the sensitivity afforded to the most fragile glass. Instead, use imagination and fantasy as protective tools. Let metaphor do the heavy lifting, as we discussed. Indirect access through story and play is not a compromise. It is a profound and strategic adaptation for safety.
So the fantasy becomes a container.
The fantasy becomes their container, the metaphor their armor. In that protected space, truth can still emerge, vivid, raw, undeniably real, but always on terms that empower rather than re-traumatize. The technique is about transformation, never exploitation. It's about helping them take what they already carry, their longing, joy, rage, abandonment, fear, all of it, and use it strategically to go after what they need in the scene. This process requires immense sensitivity and unwavering respect from you, ensuring you never cross into territory that might harm.
This brings us to a really crucial understanding for all directors listening. You do not need a conventionally trained actor to deliver a truly powerful performance. So what is it that you truly need? What's the essential requirement?
You need someone who wants something so fiercely that they will fight for it. That's it. Someone willing to lay their truth bare, however imperfectly, in the relentless pursuit of connection, victory, and transformation within the scene. When the desire to win is authentic, the work breathes. It lives. That is the unchanging core of the Chubbuck Technique, regardless of who stands before you, child, non-actor, seasoned professional. It is always a testament to human will, emotional clarity, and the strategic deployment of feeling qualities accessible to anyone with the right guidance, the right environment, and the right intention from the director. And remember this, always, for any director. The artificial constructs we sometimes impose in acting or filmmaking, the boundaries like a fourth wall, or the precise places on a stage, they don't actually protect actors. In fact, when misused, they trap performers. They trap them inside a world where truth has no escape, forcing them into a performative shell, a presentation. But when an actor, especially one unburdened by conventional training, fights for their objective with raw, authentic need, those perceived barriers just crumble. And truth emerges untamed, unpredictable, and utterly undeniable.